Have you ever asked yourself the question, is the Vanguard Saga of Heroes emulator worth my time? Does an emulator for Vanguard Saga of Heroes exist? Whatever happened to Vanguard Saga of Heroes? Wasn't that the other game that guy from EverQuest made? Well, the good thing for you is that, yes, there is an emulator. And yes, it's playable. And is it worth it? That's going to depend a lot on what you want out of a game. I'm Tim Anderson, aka Renfell, sometimes known as the Bearded Dwarven Princess, and today we're going to be diving into, is the Vanguard emulator worth it? So I'm logged into my ranger here outside of Tersh. We got this crazy mage tower that's been blown up here, and I've been working on quests for the Tersh Academy guard post. And as you can see, the game is here. It's playable. You can run around it. I can cast abilities. I can run around and I can kill mobs. We could do many different things. Let's just pull a mob here. Can I kill something? Oh, come here. That's a dead lesser rift imp. And oh, it has loot. It had 90 copper. Not a lot, but hey, every penny counts, ladies and gentlemen. Every penny counts. So the real question is the emulator in a playable state to where I'm going to get enjoyment out of it? And I would say that there are caveats to things, and you should first and foremost pay attention to the message of the day that they put. So when you first log in the game, it says, remember, this emulator is in a very early alpha state, and you are playing in the development server. Not everything will be set up. If you want specific details, please check the forums. Now, if you go over to the forums, they have some forum posts about this is the state of the game. Here's where we're at in the development of all the classes. You know, most of them are, I'd say 85, 90% off the top of my head completed, but there are things missing because they don't have the database to this game. They're sort of doing things from the last build when it was sunset and figuring things out as they go along. This is going to be one of the rare occasions that I will actually promote an emulator, because if you've ever heard me on any of the interviews I've done, I am very much against emulators when a game has a live service version going, and that's because I'm a content creator, not like internet content purely. I'm also an author. I've been a photographer, a videographer. I've done a lot of cool projects over the years, and intellectual property is a very real thing, and I will defend my copyright and my intellectual property to the day I die. And only the rights holder has the right to profit from something in any given intellectual property, and only the author and creator or the rights holder should have the right to exploit that property for any benefit whatsoever, even if there's not necessarily a monetary benefit involved, because it's about the overall intellectual property and what's being done with it. So if I'm talking about a World of Warcraft emulator, no, don't play a World of Warcraft emulator. Go play World of Warcraft. Pay a subscription to play that game. Lord of the Rings Online, pay to play the game. These are live service games, you need to play them. But in the case of Vanguard, the game's dead. There's no actual live service version out there. So in this case, I wholeheartedly suggest that you should check this out, because it's the only version you're going to get. Now, the database is being held by Daybreak, who are the rights holders. They don't appear to be wanting to do anything with this game, and they've allowed, without saying anything, they've allowed the Vanguard emulator to exist for a very long time, because there's not that many people playing it, and they appear to not really care. Now, I know some people like Nathan Napalm are trying very hard to change that. They want to show that there's enough interest in this game so that they can get the Daybreak rights holders to officially recognize this as an emulator, like they did with P99, and give them the database so that they can fully complete this game. Whether or not that happens largely depends on you, the player, and how many people we can get to actively play this game, and see if we can boost the numbers up to a reasonable amount to show that there's enough interest to actually resurrect a dead game. But that's a side project that has more to do with what Nathan's got going on than what I do. Now, I do play this game every single Tuesday morning with Nathan in a static group. Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m. Central Time, myself, Nathan Napalm, Bountycode, Sparoh, Maduros, and Binlin play this in a static group, and Nathan plays throughout the week 3 or 4 times a week, and he is raising interest, and we're all having fun, and I think this is a great emulator to sink your teeth into. This is also the perfect time for me to do my call to action, ladies and gentlemen. If you like what you see here today, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you get updates like this delivered to you in the future. And of course, if you want to support the channel, you can always do so with a super thanks down below. There's a button you can click. It's got some pre-programmed in amounts like $2, $5, $10, or you can choose your own, $50, $100, a Ferrari. Your choice. You can also join as a member of the Adventurers Guild for $2.99 a month, or you can tune in to any live stream and drop super chats and stickers during a live stream, and I stream every morning and every night, so check them out. You can also go over to the Patreon page for the world that I'm building with my wife and my brother. It's patreon.com/wandering hermits. It's a 5th edition tabletop setting, and we live stream every Sunday night with Nathan Napalm, Bountycode, Sparoh, then not Vendini. Vendini's the other static group. Skinny, my brother and my wife playing there. There's also a point-and-click adventure game and a book series. Patreon.com/Wandering Hermits if you want to check all that stuff out. And I do stream with Nathan and Sparoh and Bountycode and Maduros and other people on a lot of different games. P99, World of Warcraft Classic, and beyond. So come check us out. We do a lot more than just Vanguard. So, getting back to the Vanguard question. Is the Vanguard emulator worth it? I'm 6 minutes in. I haven't even answered that question yet. So this will probably be a longer video. I apologize. Not really. I do think it's worth it, but there are caveats to that. First and foremost, you have to understand that they don't have access to the database, and therefore there are things missing. Right now, the game only exists in a rough state from level 1 to level 30, which means if you come into this game attempting to play it hardcore like you would like a launch game like Lost Ark or New World or something, and you're trying to play 4 hours every single day, and you're going hard at it, and you're playing lots and lots and lots, you're going to quickly run out of stuff to do because there's only level 1 to 30 content, which means at the most you'll get a couple of weeks of enjoyment, and then you're done. Now, the good thing is that this is one of the older games that was designed with lots of starting areas in mind. So if I remember correctly, Xenix, the lead developer, told me the other day that I think it's all of the starting areas other than the gnomes and dark elves are in the game, which means you could try out all the different starting areas and get a very different level 1 to 30 experience across the board, similar to how Star Wars: The Old Republic in the original launch version of the game has lots of different starting storylines and individual class storylines for all the, whether it's the smuggler or the Jedi Guardian and so on and so forth. You can very much see that here, in that each starting area has its own series of quest lines that you can do, and you can experience many of them. You can also, of course, do the starter island, which is another experience all entirely of itself, because that was a streamlined experience that happened when Sony bought the game years and years ago. Now, I chose to start in the village of Tersh, which we come over here. If we come over here and take a look, we might be able to see it down the road there. It's kind of blocked behind the trees, but over there, in that general direction, is the village of Tersh. That's pretty impressive for a game that was built in Unreal 2, ladies and gentlemen. But I digress. So there are many starting areas for you to play in, and there's a lot of content for you to enjoy in the level 1 to 30 range. Now again, caveats being key here. The game is not in a launch version, it's in an alpha version, which means many of the abilities that made dungeons challenging are lacking from the game. In other words, boss mobs and the encounters and the mechanics that made those dungeons so interesting don't exist. So what they do have is this, as of this writing, they have like this generic strike ability, which they've programmed into a lot of mobs to make them hit really hard to approximate a level of challenge, so that if you decide that you want to go do these dungeons, then you will at least have something to sink your teeth into and something that will be a little bit dangerous. But it is an approximation and nothing more, because it's just a very generic ability that does damage. So quests are in 1 to 30. You can do the quests, you can see the storylines, soundtracks here, visually the game is here. All of that looks good, all of that sounds good. As a matter of fact, I did a soundtrack video of my top 5 favorite soundtracks in MMOs. Vanguard Saga of Heroes is number 1 on my list. The soundtrack for this game is absolutely phenomenal. So understanding that yes, you can go play the game from level 1 to 30 in adventuring, and you can experience all that content and do all the quests and see all the things, even dungeons, that's there. The caveat being, mob AI and mob abilities, it's alpha. It's very generic at this point. But it does provide you a chance to see what the game looked like when it was originally live. And if Nathan can succeed, which I think he can, if people keep showing up, they've been showing up when we do our live streams, when we do our multi streams, and when Nathan streams, if people keep showing up and keep logging in, those numbers get high enough, there's a good chance that Daybreak will give the database to these guys and help them flesh out the emulator even more. That being said, the caveat, it's there, but it's not entirely there, is important, because if you come in here and try to rush, you're going to run out of things very quickly. If you play it like we're playing it in a static group, where we're only coming in once a week and playing for 2 to 3 hours each session, then you can stretch that adventure out over the course of several months. Now, what's there above and beyond adventuring? Well, the basic crafting system is in here. The basic harvesting system is in game. And I can say that the developers are working very hard to get other things in the game as we play. As an example, when we started a few weeks ago, group harvesting wasn't working, and made some references to that during our live streams, and Xenix went out and got group harvesting into the game. During our live streams, Xenix has been running around, and I think I've seen Jackal a few times as well. I'm not familiar with all the staff, but they have been actively there helping us when we come across little bugs and things where something might not be spawning or etc. And they have made tweaks on the fly as we've been running through to make sure that that experience is streamlined. And some might say that's streamer privilege. Maybe, but here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Our streamer privilege is helping make the game better for everyone. So, great time to log in because there's lots of changes happening on a regular basis. The basic adventuring system there, the basic crafting system is there, and the basic diplomacy system is there, which means you can get into the game and you can see all of the things that made this game so unique. So, this game, it's either going to provide you with a hit of nostalgia if you did play it when it launched, or if you have never played it before and you're like, what is Vanguard? You will also find yourself being able to experience what Vanguard was all about. You'll be able to see the unique combat, the uniqueness of the group harvesting system, which no other game has really ever done, and the diplomacy system, which to this day is the only game that had 3 different spheres that were sort of interdependent and independent at the same time. And diplomacy allowed you to literally play the game from level 1 to 50 and level up as a diplomat, and you never had to raise a sword, never had to kill a monster, never had to do anything. You could just play this little mini game with the cards, and you could have these incredible storylines that you could go through, and you could influence buffs on a city and other things through this diplomacy system. Crafting the same way. You could go through the game as a crafter and never have to lift a finger, because there's crafting storylines that you could do along with the crafting order system. I'm blanking on what it's called, the work order system, where you didn't need to go out and get mats and so on and so forth. So lots of really cool things to see here if you want to experience what this game was. And again, caveat being it's only level 1 to 30, which means nothing 30 to 50 is in the game. There's no raids. There's I know they're working on the Ancient Port Warehouse, but it's not in a finished state yet, so caveat. But 30 to 50, you can level up. You can go grind mobs, but there's no quests in the game. And that's going to be a work in progress. So at the end of the day, it's not a finished game. But here's what I would say. If you're someone who finds yourself constantly floating from game to game, from game to game, from game to game, from game to game, and you're always looking for the next thing to play, and you find yourself quickly growing bored with all these other things, and some of these games are free to play, other ones you have to pay for, and you haven't done the emulator before, I would urge you to do it today, because you can go over to the emulator website. Links are down below. It's vgemulator.net, I believe, off the top of my head. You can go over there today. You can download it for free. It's a simple client click and download, and you're up and running. 10 minutes, you're into the game, and you can try it out for yourself. It doesn't cost you any money, and it does, at the end of the day, support a good cause, which would be to show these people that there's enough interest to potentially get Daybreak to get the to say, hey, guys, you know what? You're right. There's enough people. Here's the database. Do what you want with it. We'll see. It could happen. You never know. So I would urge you to do a couple of different things. 3 different things, actually. Try the game out on your own, because I think it is worth it. Even if you play casually, or even if you play more than casually and you want to try out all the different starting areas and all the different races and class combos, you're going to find yourself with, I would argue, 3 to 4 months of entertainment, which in my mind is worth it in and of itself because it doesn't cost you anything to try that out. And it's a great sort of interim thing while you might be waiting for your next favorite game or you're waiting for the next expansion to drop for your favorite MMO, so on and so forth. So try it out if you haven't already. Second would be to make sure to tune in when we do our multi-streams every Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m. Central Time. Watch myself, the Nathan Napalm, Bountycode, Sparoh, um, Binlin, and Maduros play this game from a group-based perspective. Or you could also tune in to Nathan Napalm as he streams pretty much, I would say he's streaming almost every single day, occasionally doing other things. But check out Nathan Napalm's YouTube channel. Links to all these things and places and people are down below. Check it out at your leisure. Let me know your thoughts below and have a happy adventure, everybody. I'll see you next time.